Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast. This is my third episode. Oh my God, this is so ASMR. I got these new headphones that are connected to my mic now so I can actually hear myself. And a lot of you guys were talking about how I'm like moving the mic away from my face when I'm speaking. So I was like, okay, while I was in Taiwan, I found like the Audio Technica store and I just went and bought these headphones so I can actually hear myself now and not give you guys some shitty experience when you're listening to my podcast, especially if you're just listening to it on Spotify. Anyway, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, I'm in a different background. I'm in Los Angeles right now. I just got to Los Angeles, like 3-4 days ago. And yeah, my background changes literally every episode because I travel so much. I don't know if it's going to be like that forever. Like there's probably going to be a long period of time where I definitely have the same background for a bit. But this is what you're getting. This is the best background I can find right now. This is what we're doing. So, I got the iPhone 15 Pro Max while I was here, which I'm so excited about. I'm really on my technology upgrade, like new headphones, new mic, new phone. I got a new MacBook the other day too because mine was 6 years old and I use my MacBook very heavily. So I got this one, which I absolutely love. It's like the 15-inch, so it's huge, which I'm kind of worried about traveling with it, but we'll see how she does. Anyway, this episode I wanted to talk about my experience living in Japan as an American going to college at an American college, if that makes sense. And it's definitely a very, very unique experience. And I also want to explain like why I left, because I know like a lot of people see going to like school in Japan or just living in Japan as like their dream. And if you told me, first of all, let's explain, like I am not officially out of Japan. I feel like a lot of people see like my videos here and there and don't really put the pieces together and think that I'm just like leaving Japan for good. And I definitely don't want that. I want to like set the record straight. Like I'm going back to Japan. I'm literally just on a hiatus right now. But there were definitely a few reasons why I was kind of at like a point where I was like, I do not want to be, like, it was not mentally good for me to be there anymore for a lot of reasons, which we're going to get into, like a plethora of reasons. But I really want to talk about my experience going to school there because that was one of the biggest reasons. Like I just was not having a good experience whatsoever at the college I was going to. And for me personally, like I don't really care about like my college experience. It's more so just like my lifestyle outside of school that I care about. I went to college initially when I moved to New York in 2019. I went to college literally just to escape my hometown and like go live in like a big city. So like I didn't really care about my what's it called, my school life, like while I was at school. But I feel like I learned when I started going to school in Japan, like my school life really kind of had an effect on my life even outside of school, because Japan, like if you're a foreigner, there's a lot of foreigners in Tokyo especially, but like it's still like a much smaller community and the options are way more limited than if you're in like America or your home country. So I had a lot of difficulties throughout the year that I think like I didn't really recognize for a long time. But after like especially the past like 6 months, I'd say I started to realize that I really was not enjoying going to school there anymore. Like I definitely liked it in the beginning, not school, but like I was fine with school, but I loved living in Japan. But after a while, it was getting, especially after I started social media, it became like a big issue for me, kind of like I started having so much anxiety going into school, which I'm going to explain like why that happened. And so it just made me not want to go to school anymore. And so I was frantically looking for a way to get out while I could still like live in Japan. Here we are months later, and like I could not find a way to like stay in Japan. So I literally just like left school for the semester, and I'm planning on going back in the spring because I do want to finish my degree like really badly. I want to have my degree. And I get dogged for that like so hard all the time. People are always like, "Oh my God, like you're such an idiot, like leaving school, like you need to go and get your degree." Like, you do not know me. You literally do not know me. Like, yes, I know my degree is important, but it's not where my priorities are at exactly in this moment. Anyway, so let's backtrack a little bit. Like when I first went to school in Japan, you have to live in the dorms your first semester because obviously most of the people are going to be freshmen. They're living in a new country. They're all like Americans pretty much. Like you have to live in the dorms your first semester. So I went to school in May of 2022. That's when I moved to Japan. And everyone at my dorms was pretty much freshmen and in like their going out phase. And so I wasn't really making any friends while I was there. I mean, I had like acquaintances and people that I was like hanging out with like here and there for like 2 months, but nothing that lasted after I moved out. And this is kind of like important to know for later on in the story, but like after I moved out, I would literally just show up to school, and I kind of just felt like a huge age gap between me and everyone that was at school. So like I wasn't really clicking with anyone that was at school. I wasn't making any like new friends while I was at school, and it was just like a bit of an isolating experience, even though there's like 1,800 kids at my school, and everybody there seems to have like such a set group of friends, and I just like did not. And so I would just show up to school. And mind you, the school is like very crowded. It's only 6 floors with 1,800 people. So like everyone hangs out in like this one area, and there's like huge groups of friends, and I was just not in any of them. So it would be like embarrassing for me to like go and sit there by myself. And so I just like wasn't making any friends, and I was fucking lonely as hell for like a while. And I only made like friends basically outside of school, like through Instagram or something. And I wasn't even hanging out with them that much. So I was felt pretty isolated, but I've always been someone who's been able to kind of like operate on their own just fine. But then I started doing social media, and social media like immediately kind of took off for me in a way that I definitely didn't expect. I feel like I've said that like so many times now, but like, I mean, that's the truth. Like, I really didn't expect it to go the way that it did. And everything happened like so fast, and my life changed really quickly. And at the same time, I was going to school, and that was really difficult to juggle the two, which I've touched on a bit before, but I was having a lot of difficulty, like even having an ounce of a social life outside of me working and doing school at the same time, because suddenly I'm like this influencer that has to hold up like this reputation and like keep the momentum going and do all these things, these little things that like you don't really think about until you're in it. And so that was my life for like a few months. And I was just like showing up to school when I had to, and like not doing any work, only doing the work that I like really had to do, because that was the only time I could make for it. And when I started doing social media and going to school, like my in-person classes, like say like spring of this year, I started having like weird experiences at school with people, because one thing about like the community in Japan, especially the foreigner community, is everyone kind of, not everyone knows each other, but it's small. So like if there is a foreigner in Japan that's like on social media, then like everyone kind of knows about them. And so that kind of became me like really quickly. And going to a school, like a small school, that led me to have like a lot of anxiety going into school, because I didn't know like anyone really at school. So I didn't know if these people like knew who I was or not. And so I started having these experiences, like I'd go to class, and then like the person next to me wouldn't say anything for like weeks. And then like suddenly when we had to like speak to each other for like a project or an assignment or something, or just a partnership that we had to do during class, they suddenly like knew everything about me and knew who I was. And like they knew that for weeks and just didn't tell me. And I was sitting next to them. And so that felt like really strange. And then that began like this feeling of like me not really being able to make first impressions on anyone, which was kind of like sad and like hard to deal with, because I didn't want to really be friends with anyone that like I couldn't make my first impression with, because you don't know people's like intentions like anymore. And it wasn't only me just like having these people in my classes, but also like I would go in the hall and people would come up to me and say that they like didn't even know that I went to school there, and that they watch all of my videos. And it's like I was just like at school, like going to class. And so it became a very like in and out thing. Like I was literally just going into class, leaving as soon as I could, rushing as fast as I could. And so like me walking into school became like this whole thing where I would get like, I wasn't getting bombarded by like any means, but at that point, like so many instances had happened where I was like, I don't know if these people like are perceiving me without me like knowing or what. And like when you walk into my school, there's like hella people like everywhere, so I constantly felt like I had eyes on me or people like watching me, even if there wasn't. Like I was just like constantly like aware and like making sure like I had all my bases covered to see if there was like someone talking about me without me knowing. And that became very anxiety inducing. And I think like the biggest example for what kind of drove me over the edge was one time I went into my classroom. Well, I went into my professor's classroom. That wasn't my class. She was teaching another class, and I really loved this professor. So I really wanted to say hi to her. So I go into the class, I say hi, I leave, whatever. And then like 30 minutes later, I get a DM on Instagram from a girl that I know. I'm just like acquaintances with. We follow each other on Instagram. She goes to my school. And she messaged me and she was like, Professor, we'll call her Mary. Mary was playing your videos on the projector. And I was like, huh? Like last time I checked, like none of my professors knew about my social media. And I was like, what? How did she know? And she said that somebody in class recognized me, like someone that I don't know, recognized me and like paused the class and like told the professor like everything. And so my professor goes and Googles like all of my social media, like my, not only my TikTok, but my YouTube, playing all of it on the projector. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like really becoming a thing. Like everybody's starting to figure out about this. And for a while I was under the radar, especially with my professors, because like, I don't know, they just like, I don't know why they didn't know about it, but they didn't know about it. And my professors were like really, I wanted to really keep my school and my social media separate, which quickly was not like a reality. And so my professors started finding out. That whole instance happened. I also had one time, I was talking to my professor about, this is a different professor. I was talking to her about a test or something. And someone in the class that I had never spoken to before came up to the podium where I was talking to the professor and interrupts like me and my conversation with the professor about like this test or whatever we were talking about. And just goes, oh my God, I like see you on my For You page all the time. I follow you on TikTok. And I was like, okay, like I'm talking to my professor right now. And like, I mean, I was nice. I was definitely like nice to the person. I was like, oh, like nice to meet you, whatever. But like, I just like these instances kind of just like pile up to the point where I feel like I'm not even at school anymore. And it's almost like I don't want to distract, and I don't want to distract myself, and I don't want to distract like other students, because as soon as like that instance happened, by the way, like the instance with the projector, like my professor playing my videos on the projector didn't only happen that one time. She did it in my class as well when I was absent. Like I was literally absent from class one day. And this was probably like months later after the first instance. And I come back to class, like the next class, and someone tells me like, well, what did I name her? Mary. Mary was playing your videos like on the projector, and like half of the class didn't know that I like did social media. So suddenly, and I just like sit in the back in silence. Like I am not a loud student like at all. I literally just sit in the back. I do my work, what I have to do, and then I leave. So all these students suddenly had their eyes on me. This girl came up to me and asked like if I was making money on social media. And like, I just suddenly had so much attention on me in this class. And then I told my professor, I was like, Mary, I told you I like didn't want you to do that. And she was like, oh, we were talking about like business and social media and stuff, so I wanted to like use you as an example, whatever. And I was like, girl, like don't do that. Like I did not want that to happen. And so suddenly it just feels so weird. Like I put so much of myself on the internet, which is obviously my fault, and like that's my choice, a choice that I have made. But there's a lot of like vulnerable sides of myself on the internet that I show that I don't necessarily want like random strangers in my real life to like know or see, especially when I'm there. And it felt really weird, because suddenly I felt like all these people in my class like knew everything about me and I didn't even know their first name. And that was like really strange and made me uncomfortable. It made me not want to go to class, and like everyone started being like really nice to me, and that was like really weird. And also like a lot of the people that I had met like the first 2 months at my school, at the dorms, and like all these acquaintances that I had made and just like fallen out with, and like we didn't really just like make any like strong connection, all of them like came running back to like my Instagram DMs and just like trying to like hang out and just like be my friend or complimenting me. I had people like that I previously knew like coming up to me at school being like, oh my God, like you're so famous now, and like all this stuff. And I'm like, so now I like get all this attention just because I have like a following on social media. And that like, it didn't feel amazing. And it just, so many things just led to me having like so much anxiety like going into school. And I just started having like such a bad experience overall, and everyone there, like I'm not even trying to like say this to like toot my own horn, because it's just like, if you're in Tokyo and you're a foreigner, like I was on your For You page, especially in like the early 2023 era. So kind of everyone in my life and everyone in my life's friends and family like found out about my social media one way or another. And at my school, I felt like I flew under the radar for like 3 months, as far as I know. Like I don't know if people were thinking about it without just like me knowing, or just like saw me at school and didn't say anything, but I flew under the radar for a while. And then all these instances started happening, and suddenly I felt like kind of like everyone at my school knew about it, and that's not the type of like attention that I wanted going into school. Like I don't have like a huge posse to walk into school with. Like I have like 3 friends that go there, and we don't have like matching up schedules. So it felt weird to like walk into school by myself, and sometimes I literally just want to show up in like the bummiest outfit and like not even try. And but suddenly I felt like I had kind of this like reputation that I had to uphold at school. And so I found myself like dressing up way more every time I went to school, which started to get like exhausting for me. And I was like, I don't want to like fake my look to anyone or fake my personality or anything. Like, I don't know. And I felt like every time like I had an interaction with someone new, I had to like live up to this like personality that I had on the internet that people were watching, because they felt like they already knew me and knew everything about my life. And so many people have like I'll talk to someone and then they ask me about my cat and like know my cat's name, and I'm like, I don't even know like your first name yet. Like it's just such like a strange feeling. And so I just like dealt with it for a while because I really didn't have an option. Like I had to keep like going to school and like living in Japan, and I wasn't just gonna like drop out. Like that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to finish having my degree. I had to stay going to school to have my visa and like continue working, and it's like this huge cycle. And so fall semester came around, and you might be wondering, well, Ryan, like you're in LA right now, like what's going on? And I've been traveling, and to like clear the air about absolutely everything, I have made like an announcement. I feel like a lot of people know that like I did take the time off of school this semester, but I want to like get into the timeline of things that happened. And because it was very abrupt, like I originally did not plan that I was going to leave school this semester, and I wouldn't be in LA right now if I did, or if I didn't leave school. And so fall semester started, and I was really happy because I made it such a priority to get all of my classes online pretty much, because I was like, I do not want to step foot in that school anymore. Like I hated going to school so much. Like it was just I only lived like 2 stations away from my school, so it was really easy to get there physically, but I was tired. Like I literally did not want to go in there anymore. It was giving me so much anxiety. I would literally be sweating by the time I got to my class all the time, just because I had so much anxiety if someone was like gonna come up to me, or if there were people like watching me while I was walking. And so I was like trying to like literally perfect my walk and like make sure I didn't look stupid or have like a fucking stain on my shirt or a booger in my nose and like all this stuff that like just made me overall really anxious. And so fall semester started, and I had like most of my classes online, which was great. I only had 1 in-person class, which made me like so happy. And I was like, oh my God, this semester is going to breeze by. Like everything's going to be great. I was only taking like 4 classes too. So I was like, this is so easy. Like I'm going to be able to work. And then the first week of school started, and I was like, I literally hate this so much. And I was like, I feel like I have so much potential to like do other things, but I can't give that my 100% because I'm in school. And so I got to a point, and I've been very driven for so long. Like I've been going to school for 5 years at this point. I should have graduated in May, but since I transferred, like so much happened, and like I've just stuck through the whole time because I know how important my degree is, and like I want to like really set myself up to be like safe no matter what. And yeah, my degree is important to me, and I've withstood, is that the right word? Withstood everything for so long. And I got to a point like after that first week in school where I was like, I literally don't think I can do this anymore. And that's coming from someone who thought that they would literally never leave school and like graduate and like go to the 9-to-5 route and all that. And that was really, really hard for me. It was really hard. And I was frantically trying to figure out like what to do, because I was like, okay, well, if I don't go to school, I can't be in Japan. Like I have to leave. Like, where do I go? Like all this stuff. And it's like so much that I had to figure out. And on top of that, there was a deadline, because technically what I wanted to do was take a leave of absence to like test the waters of me leaving school. But there was a deadline on that. And it was like literally 2 weeks after school started. So I only had a few days at this point to figure out. Like I really was teetering when school first started. I was like, oh, like I think I can like push through this. Like I'm gonna keep going. Like everything's gonna be fine. And then it was like one day after the other, I was like, it was getting worse and worse. And I was like, I'm going to be so mentally fucked if I like keep doing this for months. And like even just until December, like I'm actually going to like be incredibly depressed. Like I would rather like risk everything than like keep doing this and like know the outcome that I'm gonna be like insanely depressed. And so I had a few days to figure out like what I was going to do. And I just like sporadically one day, like literally the very last day that I could make the decision, and the nights before, I was literally staying up for hours on end, like deciding like what I was going to do, like literally just staring at the wall. And I was like, oh my God, this is like going to change my life like forever. Like this is such a big decision. Like I don't know what to do. It changes my living situation, it changes everything, literally everything in my life. So it was like the scariest thing to do. And also obviously I had my cat, my apartment, like all this stuff, so many factors. So it was a very stressful few days. And the very last day that I could make the decision, I frantically decided that I was going to leave school, which meant that the following 2 weeks was all I had left in Japan until I go back. Because of my visa situation, I have to leave Japan if I'm not in school, and I can't come back until I am back in school. So they were like, the earliest that you can come back is I think like 30 days before the next semester. So the earliest I can go back to Japan is like late December. So I had to figure out what the hell I was going to do for like the next few months. And that led me down the route of like doing this like travel series type of thing that I've been doing. And I had a little bit of time to like over the past like year or 9 months, whatever, to like test the waters of like me doing like travel content. So, and it's something that I enjoyed and I really love traveling. I always have. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me to just like, if I don't have like a living situation anywhere else, I'll just travel full time. And so that's what I did. And I like booked all of these trips. Like I went to like 6 countries in Asia, and now I'm in LA. I'm about to go to Europe. Surprise. I don't know if I've said that before. I don't think I have, but I'm about to go to Europe for a while until I go to Japan, basically. And I'm really excited. Like, honestly, I've been having a good time. It's a nice break from Japan because my life there had gotten like extremely repetitive, like very repetitive. And it's like, once you live in Japan for like the first few months, like it really wears off. Like everything that's like really exciting and fun about it, like really wears off. So it's not this like incredible experience anymore. I mean, I definitely had like a really good experience while I was in Japan and the time that I had there. And I love Japan so much. And I love so many things about living there. But my routine became so repetitive, mixed with not being able to really make any more friends. Like everybody that I meet now already has like a preconceived knowledge of me. Like I hate saying that, but like it's fucking true. Like literally everyone that I've met in like the past, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months, they all know who I am like before I meet them, which kind of sucks. And I mean, some of those people like I have really liked and enjoyed being around, and like it's not really like a problem, but sometimes it's like I really can't tell what their intentions are, which I think I'm still like getting used to and like creating a skill out of like understanding like people's intentions. But yeah, I do plan on going back to school in spring, which does make me really nervous, but it's really like the only way I can go back to my life in Japan. Like I have to go to school there. So I'm gonna have to like go back to like this anxious lifestyle, which I know like me doing this like travel thing for like this semester, it's not the most sustainable idea. And like I didn't know exactly what was gonna come out of it or what was gonna happen, but I knew that I just needed like that time immediately. Like it was like now I need that time. Like I need the time to be able to like calm down and just like see my life from like a different perspective and like have different experiences and not stick myself in a situation where I had to be there for like months on end, because that's what would have happened if I stayed in school. Like I wouldn't have gotten a refund on my tuition. I wouldn't have gotten a leave of absence. Like I would have had to fully drop out of school, and then I would have had to reapply to go back and all these things. And yeah, like I'm really happy that I made that decision because I've experienced so much, and I've only been gone for like a month now. I've literally only been gone for a month, and I've been in I think seven different countries since I left, which is like actually insane. I've had a lot of great experiences. I will say there's some parts of this experience that don't look exactly how I thought they would, and I found myself in even like a creative rut, even though I have like constant inspiration around me almost, and a lack of motivation as well. And I really exhausted myself like traveling for a while. Like I remember when I was in Bali, I was so like done after, because I had gone to Korea, Vietnam, and Thailand all within the span of like 2 weeks. And I got to Bali and I was like, I don't want to do anything anymore. Like I was so just exhausted and I had not had social interaction for so long. Like I was on a different time zone from like everyone in the States. I mean, that's normal because I live in Japan, but like everything was harder. Like I just wanted like a break, like so bad. And that's something that I didn't really predict to happen. And even now, like in LA, I'm like, damn, like I'm just like waiting until I go to Europe to kind of like pick back up because I don't know. I feel like I'm on my vacation away from vacation right now, which sounds, that sounds so fucking snobby. I'm on my vacation away from traveling the fucking world. No, but like I really exhausted myself like physically and, sorry. I got sick when I was in Vietnam as well. And that sucked. Like I was so physically like drained after a while. Anyway, I'm getting like really off track and off topic here. But yeah, I really was not having a good experience at school in Japan. I mean, that's not going to be like everyone's experience. I know a lot of people who go to that school and like absolutely love it. I'm not there for the school though. Like I'm literally there just so I can like live in Japan because I love living in Japan. And I mean, I do want like a degree of sorts. I want some sort of like mastery in something. And I want like the, what's it called? The credentials of having a degree. And it's a huge like privilege to have. And I've gone so far into it that there's like, it'd be so stupid of me, I feel like, to just not get it unless I had like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like I see so much opportunity in myself even now. Like if I like dropped out and left school, I'm like, oh my God, like, maybe I would be fine for like a long time, but it's like you really don't know. Like that's like a huge risk. So I don't know. It's like I'm pretty set that I'm gonna finish my degree out because after I finish my degree, I can always like continue everything. I don't know. I'm like rambling at this point, and like it honestly like scares me a little bit because I get so much criticism about this. But I wanted to like set the record straight about like what's going on with me. And yeah, living in Japan is not all fucking sunshine and rainbows. Like everyone, I get so tired of that. And like so many people, understandably, like I understand why, but so many people like comment on my social media and say that like I live their dream life and like I'm living their dream. And I'm like, babe, if only you knew, like if only you knew, like I am so depressed. Like I hate my life. But yeah, it's like, it's so glamorized and it's not, people never show like a realistic aspect of it. And I was lonely as fuck for months. Like I had no friends really. And like even the friends that I did have, I never hung out with. Like it was literally just me and my fucking cat like chilling at home. Like that's all my life was for months. And I couldn't make any new friends. And like it was all something that I couldn't even really like talk about online because it's like everybody thinks I have this like super lucky life, which I do in some aspects, like being able to live in Japan, but everyone like glamorizes it so they think that my life is perfect and I never have any room to like complain about anything. And also it's like embarrassing for me to like tell millions of people like, hey, I don't have any fucking friends. Like my life is actually boring as fuck and all I do is work and talk to a camera. And yeah, and it all became too much for me. And I hated walking into school knowing that like all these people had seen like really vulnerable parts of me that I haven't been able, like I'll never be able to share those with people, share those like vulnerable moments in like a new light. And it's like every time I talk to someone, it's like I have nothing to talk about because they already know everything because I put it online, which is like my fault. And like, yeah, that's like my life now. It's just like a reality that I have to live with. And like, I'm so grateful for everything that I do have, but I just wish that it was a little bit easier for me to like make friends and have a better social life. But also all that being said, like I'm very, very picky with people and very, very picky with the friends that I choose, but I don't know. I'm not like the biggest social butterfly. I am like a bit of an introvert. I definitely will say I'm a bit of an introvert. I did not have a huge like going out like clubbing phase when I moved to Japan. And like so many people ask me about that. They're like, how's the clubbing in Tokyo? Like, how is it? And I'm like, I literally don't know. Like, I don't go clubbing that much. Like I've been clubbing. I can count on one hand how many times I've been clubbing in Tokyo. But so it is like a mix of like me not really like putting myself out there, I guess, but also especially at my school where I thought that I would like make like a community of friends that just like never really happened because a few months after me going to school in Japan, like I started doing social media and all this stuff happened. And like those like instances at school with like the projector situation and like people coming up to me in the hall and people sitting next to me in class and like acting like they don't know who I am and all these things. And even just like if someone like looks at me in the hallway, I'm like, was that like an I know you from TikTok look, or was that I know you from the hallway look? Like, I don't know. And it's just like all these things that you kind of have to second guess in your daily life. And I'm a little bit of like a socially anxious person. So that's like not, that's not fun. And I'm still like learning how to navigate that. And I'm really nervous about like going back to school because I will have to deal with that again. And I'm not going to be lucky enough to like have all my classes be online. Like I know I'm going to have to go back into school, which is not something I'm really looking forward to. But I do miss Japan. I miss my life in Japan and I want to like continue living there. But at the same time, oh my God, I feel like I sound so all over the place because honestly, I am. Like I really am. If I'm like 100% transparency, like I don't know like what's going to happen in like the next 6 months. Like I could fucking live in like, I don't know, Guangzhou, China. Like I do everything like so manically and I am so bad at making decisions and I don't know what I want out of my life and I don't know what the best route is because you really never know like what route you take is going to be like the most successful. And I'm really trying to like have a moral compass here and do what's best because I have like this great opportunity in front of me like with social media. Like I've done pretty well in like the past 10 months, and 10 months like I have like blown up my social media to a point where like I'm living off of it now and it's like my full-time income. And so it's like this new thing that I have to like navigate and like decide between like my school or my career. And I wish like the whole visa thing wasn't a problem in the equation, but it really is. It's like a huge problem in the equation, and it's very hard for me to go to school and do social media at the same time. But it's like I love living in Japan. Like I established a life there now. I don't know, it's really complicated. I'm not going to get into like my whole visa thing. That's like a whole other topic. But yeah, I feel like I've been all over the place, like more than my last 2 episodes. Like I've been all over the place with this, and I don't really know exactly what I'm trying to get at here, but I just wanted to explain like my experience going to school in Japan. And there was like so many instances that I didn't really talk about online because I was really scared about like talking about them online and then like going back into school and then people having seen my videos about them. But now that I'm gone, I feel like I have like it has some time to like cool down and I can like talk about it. And also on my podcast, I feel like very safe here and I can like talk about anything. So that was like a few experiences that I was having. That's the drama about going to school as an American at an American school in Japan. Also, like literally like any other school, there is so much drama at that school. Like it literally feels like high school. Like everyone there feels like they have such a low level of maturity, which I hate. Like I don't know what it is, but like people there are just so high school-esque, and I don't like associating with really anyone there because I've seen a lot of them. I've met a lot of them and they're not my cup of tea. Very immature in a lot of ways, but also it's acceptable because they're like freshmen in college. Yeah, that's my experience so far. I might have missed a couple points. I don't care, but I needed to film this podcast episode. So this will be up, I think, tomorrow. But thank you for listening. If you made it to the end, that's crazy because I've been all over the fucking place this episode. I'm at like, what, 34 minutes almost. Okay. I love you so much. Mwah. Thank you for listening to my experience living alone in Japan. I love you. Bye-bye.